Let's discuss. Friend of show, Florida Republican Congressman Byron Donalds, constantly mentioned, whether he likes it or not, as someone that the former president is looking at as a potential running mate. I'm not going to chase you about your political future, but I do appreciate you being here. Thank you for taking the opportunity.
It's good to be back with you, Chris. It's been a while.
It's good to have you. I've been watching you, and I see what you're doing, and it seems to be going well for you within the ranks of your party. You came into Congress saying, look, we got to do things differently here. I'm guided by principle just as much as party. But don't you feel that you guys are getting sucked into the game of your party just chasing after the Democrats the same way they chased after you and your guys?
Well, look, first of all, Chris, let me say that I would definitely want to do things differently. I think Congress should work far more efficiently and be working for the interests of the American people, regardless of whoever has the majorities, whether it's in the House or in the Senate. But what happened here with this Biden probe as it started was not because of some document from the FBI. Where it started was the fact that there are 200 suspicious activity reports at the Department of Treasury with Hunter Biden's name on it. And now, Chris, for everybody at home to put this in perspective, most people in their lifetime might, and I stress might, have one suspicious activity report. Hunter Biden has 200. I've read those reports. I've been at the Treasury building because, by the way, the president did not want to send those over to Congress. He made us go to the Treasury building to read them. So I've read those reports. And in those reports, these are reports from financial institutions, not the FBI, not CIA, not some Democrat operative or Republican operative. These are reports from banking institutions that by law they have to transmit if there are concerns about the financial transactions associated with one of their customers. Like I said, most people might have one suspicious activity report. Hunter Biden has, I believe the number now is 187. So that's what spurred the beginning of this investigation. It was not the FBI Form 1023. We didn't find out about that form until about a year through our investigation.
But Byron, let the audience also know, while it's an impressive number, and while people probably won't have that because they're not doing these kinds of sophisticated transactions the way he is in international economics, but they are not allegations necessarily of wrongdoing. They are of activity. And even if they were of wrongdoing, and I know they're not, don't beat me up on the left, I'm just for the sake of argument. Even if your guys' duty of oversight and investigation is supposed to have an eye on legislation that would change a situation, you are not cops. You are not supposed to police your opponents. Why not leave it to the DOJ and the FBI and who's supposed to be doing this? Instead of arguably, and I said it about the Democrats too, wasting our time on things that you will never satisfy. You will not remove Biden. You do not have proof that he is dirty. And his son, his brother, maybe they are doing things that stink. Welcome to politics. Is this really the best use of Congress's time?
Well, two things. In the Oversight Committee, our responsibility is to have oversight of the entire executive branch, including the White House and all activities therein. So if there are financial business dealings with the family that could encumber the decision-making of the President of the United States, the Oversight Committee has a responsibility to investigate that. That's number one. Number two, the FBI, they had years, and Main Justice, let me add, they had years to actually dig into the issues with Hunter Biden. They were not doing that. Let's remember the plea deal that Main Justice was going to do on Hunter Biden, the original one, where they were going to basically ignore the tax evasion that occurred. They were going to drop the gun charge down to a misdemeanor, and they were going to ignore the fact that Hunter Biden has been operating as an unregistered foreign agent. These are things that Paul Manafort was thrown in jail for. And so they were completely ignoring that. They came up with this lame plea deal. And the only reason that the plea deal got exposed is because you had a federal judge who actually read the document and said, this thing is insane. There's no way I'm signing this. And that then led to Mr. Weiss then becoming a special prosecutor because Main Justice under Merrick Garland, and by the way, Joe Biden, were so embarrassed about the plea deal that was given to Hunter Biden. That's the Department of Justice not doing its job. The Oversight Committee has a responsibility over Main Justice, over the White House, and every other aspect of the federal government. That is the purview of our committee, and that's why it's appropriate for us to look into these matters.
But that's not really what's happening, right? And look, and here's the best proof of it. If you look at Manafort, as you said, Michael Cohen, okay? I'm not in the business of defending him. But if you look at these guys and now what's going on with Hunter Biden, even Trump's latest case with Alvin Bragg, it is hard for you to find people getting prosecuted this way and chased this way, the way these big names all are. And I'm telling you, and I know you hear this from your constituents, Byron, because you're still connected to the communities that you came out of before you got into politics. It stinks to us, tax evasion with Hunter Biden. People don't go to jail for tax evasion unless they're mobsters. They get fined. You got to cut a deal. They wind up, killing you for money for a long time. It's very rare they're criminally prosecuted. And he's the first guy with an obvious and advanced drug problem to have a gun charge that doesn't wind up being manifested like he was a trafficker. I mean, these are not unusual things. What's unusual is a guy who's doing what Trump does, which so many people do in the industry now with a $300 million fine, that a guy doing what Manafort does, which was so subtle that so many did, and he winds up going to prison. Michael Cohen, they're chasing around. No bank loses any money, but he has to go away. These things reek of politics, and now it seems that you guys are doing the same thing. I thought you would be better than they.
Well, actually, I'm glad you brought this up because everybody that's been prosecuted around President Trump, it's all been about politics. Let's go all the way back down memory lane. The fact that this Russia collusion investigation really was opened up under the Obama administration by John Brennan. You mean to tell me Barack Obama didn't know, that Joe Biden didn't know, that Hillary Clinton didn't know? They all knew, and they allowed it to happen because they cared more about politics than the rule of law. And so now when people are looking at all of these situations, no, hold on, no, this is important now, Chris. Let me explain.
Go ahead,
now
Byron.
that you have citizens who want to unveil all of this, don't stop the investigations now because now Joe Biden is the one who's under the gun. Don't do that. If you want to play the game of, listen, these things happen, but we're going to maintain American democracy and American strength, and we're not going to go after political rivals, I'm cool to play that game. But when Democrats get caught in the crosshairs of their own malfeasance, don't give me the argument of, oh, this is too much. It's a distraction from the American people. Because, by the way, that's not true. On Capitol Hill, we're debating how we're going to fund the government. We're actually want to secure the border. Those things are all happening right now. And the investigation into the Biden family is occurring at the same time. Let me also add this. Unlike Nancy Pelosi and congressional Democrats who had an impeachment vote and then went to full impeachment within 2 weeks, or in the second impeachment had no proof whatsoever, but they were upset, obviously, from January 6th and went to another impeachment, we have spent our time over the last year actually doing a thorough investigation. Some of the information we revealed, frankly, embarrassed Main Justice, and Main Justice had to go back and do their job appropriately on the first hand. So we have not been just seeking political retribution. We've been going through the investigative process, and the evidence will lead us to our final conclusion.
I think it's a distinction without a difference. I think if you guys were chasing after the investigative bodies for how they did their job, that's one thing. But that's not what you're doing by chasing after Biden, his brother, his cousin, his son, whoever comes next. You want to go after Treasury for what they did, or the IRS or the DOJ, knock yourself out. People would love the transparency. They would love that. But that's not what this is. And I'm just wondering at what point one side decides to be better than the other. But look, to be continued. We got to see what happens with Smirnov. Boy, are we making it easy for Russia to bust us up, Congressman Donalds. Man, we're making it easy for them. They wormed their way into the last one. Now they just wormed their way into this one. Well, I got to tell you, I can't believe the American people like what they're seeing. Last word to you.
Chris, I will tell you, the FBI Form 1023 notwithstanding, there's still voluminous amounts of evidence that Joe Biden did know what his brother and his son were doing and that he was getting money. You have the CEFC payment of $400,000 that goes to Hunter on the same day Joe Biden, a.k.a. the big guy, gets $40,000. You get the $200,000 payment to Jim Biden on the same day. Joe Biden gets $20,000. And now Jim Biden is under oath saying that there was never any loan document. It was just a hand, shake, shake, wink, wink. Those are the elements of money laundering and tax evasion, whether it's the president of the United States or a regular citizen in our country. So we're going to finish our investigation and release those facts to the American people.
But listen, I'm all for it. I'm all for the transparency. I'm just saying that the idea, look, if you get proof that President Biden was on the take, that's one thing. We haven't seen anything that even resembles it. And I'm saying if we keep going down this road, Byron Donalds, everybody will be investigated about everything because the T is getting weaker and weaker. But I appreciate you making the case to the audience. You're always welcome here. To be continued.
Anytime. Thank you, Chris.